Okay, good morning, good morning, good morning, you beautiful human beings. Guys, it is Tuesday. We absolutely smashed Monday, right? We intend to do the exact same thing today. However, the only difference between yesterday and today is obviously that it's Tuesday, not Monday. But the US market is now finally open. We don't have that public holiday, so we should see some more volume, things like that ramp into the market. So if you're joining me live, massive welcome. Let me know where in the world you are joining us from. Now, guys, I am pumped. I'm excited. There's just so much going on that I wish I could share with you guys. And it's massive for the future of where we're going as a business. It's massive for the future where we're going as a community. It's just blessings upon blessings upon blessings. Now, at the same time, we've got some big things happening in the studio. You might notice the camera changes. Camera angles may change. I get a lot of feedback from you guys saying you guys want to see more of the studio, more side angles, more just about what's going on. And there's some crazy things going on here. Very, very exciting stuff. If you like technology and you're a little bit of a geek like I am, then you will be super, super happy with that. So a bunch of things happening in the market. There's somebody new that's returning to the markets that we've pretty much missed for quite a bit of time. And we're going to be talking about it, you best believe, right? So let's jump in and let's have a look. So first thing we obviously want to talk about is the fact that we have our dear friend, Mr. Trump, coming back to the party, back to town, right? And I've missed this dude. He's an absolute moron, but he speaks what he thinks, which is a very rare thing in politics. If he believes something is a certain way, he says it, right? And that's a really good thing. I believe for markets, under his leadership, markets expanded, significantly, right? Yes, there was no pandemic. Yes, there was no other things, but Trump is just on another level, right? He's an absolute on another level. So he's making a little bit of a return. There's obviously quite a bit of controversy around, his court cases and can he even run, etc. There's a bunch of things busy happening, but he's running, right? He's leading in some areas, which is absolutely nuts, right? It's just crazy to see. So, let me know. I'd love to know from you guys in the comments, are you looking forward to potentially another era of Trump? How did you find his leadership, etc. I'd love to know your guys' thoughts. For me, it was just, if you're into the financial markets, it was just, for lack of a better word, and for lack of not, being able to, wanting to swear on YouTube, it was just, the paw was hitting the fan every time this guy was tweeting. And it was great for markets, right? You never knew what you were getting, but there was certainly volatility and volume, right? Moving into some of the fundamental data, and I've also scaled things a little bit differently for you guys in terms of the show, and you'll soon get to the charts. Things should be a bit clearer. I would love to know from you guys, how does it look? How does it feel? Does it feel a bit clearer? Please do let me know. There's quite a bit of changes happening. I'm actually quite surprised that the show is even working today because of the amount of changes that happen, right? So I'd love to know you guys' feedback. Is it clearer? Is it easier to read, specifically for those of you who are following on a cell phone, etc.? So we've got some Canadian data this afternoon. That's pretty much going to be the main item for today, right? Is that Canadian data that's coming through. And that's going to be a little bit of the continuation of what we've started to see in terms of inflation on the dollar. We're obviously seeing some of the Canadian data, inflation on the Canadian dollar side of things, right? So if you're a CAD trader, this may be worthwhile. Now, this afternoon's dollars for lunch, we're going to be trading this one live, right? So I'm going to break it a little bit down, the Canadian dollar data down, some past data. I'm going to show you some of the correlations between some other pairs, and we're going to start to see, can we get a little bit more invested into one or other pair, right? So again, we obviously focus quite heavily on the dollar. We track that through indexes. We know the dollar is a world reserve currency. So everything that happens with the dollar has an impact and ripple effect around the world. We're going to start to lend and have two other focuses, right? My current proposal is that we focus on something like the Canadian dollar or the New Zealand dollar, right? That has a bit of correlation to the dollar, but still independence. And then we bring something in completely from the outside, something like the Japanese yen, right? So instead of just being completely dollar focused, I believe it's time we add in a little bit more focus onto the Canadian, onto New Zealand, onto something like the yen, that we have a little bit more of an intimate understanding of what's happening in those climates, what's happening in those economies, how they're shifting and shaping up into relation to some of the rest of the bigger currencies. So I'd love to know your thoughts. The vote down below, just vote here. What do you think we include? Is that going to be the Canadian? Is that going to be New Zealand, as well as the yen, right? So again, if you're part of Premium Plus, we are going to be trading this afternoon, right? So if you're part of the Premium Plus, if you go into your calendar, right, you'll see there's dollars for lunch that is coming out this afternoon. Now, this dollars for lunch, we're going to be live at 3:15, right? School only allows us to schedule, an hour at a time or in 30-minute increments. We are live at 3:15. So if you're in dollars for lunch, you'll be able to, if you have Premium Plus, you'll be able to click that link and you'll be able to go through and have a look. So we're going to be looking at some of that data this afternoon from the Canadian side of things. Now guys, again, if you're with us right now, a massive shout out. Let me know in the comments. I can't see comments right now. I've changed screens and some things are super far away. Some things are on another screen. I don't even know which screen it is, but I will read the comments after the fact and try and get back to every single one of you. Now, with regards to the charts, you obviously have, a bunch of people looking very, very intensely into some of the trading opportunities that we could receive today. But I just want to touch on and just speak about gold really quickly. And I know, we speak about gold, we touch on things, but I think it's just important to remain focused on where we are at and what may potentially still happen from a technical perspective. So again, this is gold behind me. Let me know how clear this is. From my perspective, it should be a lot more clearer, but I'd love to know from you guys. And primarily, I'd like to know just, from a numbers perspective. I get a lot of feedback from people asking, what is that number? What is that level, etc. So I just want to know from you, is this a bit more clearer? Can you read those numbers, right? Love to know from you guys. So let's quickly talk about gold. Now, this is a weekly time frame, right? And I would just want to bring your attention to this last moment in time. We know, we've peaked in August 2020, in March 2022, and then April, May 2023, and now once again. Now, in most of those cases where we peaked, we had an almost immediate rejection, with the exception of April, May this year, right? We peaked and we tried for a few times and then failed, right? In this last instance where we peaked early December, we peaked up into that zone and then started that corrective process, but there's still quite a lot of strength here on gold. Now, obviously, we've spoken about some of the fundamentals. We've spoken about, interest rates and, the pause in interest rates, potential reduction in interest rates. And that is super important. I get a lot of people say, they don't care about, some of the fundamentals, they don't pay attention to it. It doesn't matter. Well, this is the big thing. And this is what I want to explain to people, is that we are price action traders, right? Meaning price action is king, price action rules everything, right? Now, for those of you who've known me for quite a bit of time, I've for a long time explained, and I'm busy with a book on this particular subject, is that we found patterns that price action predicts and precedes, meaning comes before most of the big world events. Okay, so listen to what I'm saying, right? So if you're new to trading, this might not make any sense, but if you've been trading for a while, this should make sense. So there's patterns we see within markets. Price action lines itself up to the point where it starts to precede what I believe are then world events that happen to then justify and, perfect storm that situation. Right. Now, a lot of people say, well, if that is the case, there's no need to pay attention to some of the fundamentals. Well, that's where people get it wrong, right? In the sense that, if you go back and you have a look, and I'll use an example, right? In the US, when it comes to the dollar, every time we see election season, right? Every time we see, candidates running and polls and votes and races, we see certain technical things play out in the markets that are repetitive. Now, the fundamental point on its own that people are running for elections and there's this turmoil and this, these things being stirred up in the US, that is a fundamental yes. Right? But the data we're seeing from a technical standpoint, that is technical and it happens every season where we, see new candidates running for candidacy, Republicans versus Democrats, whether one is leading or the other, markets tend to do something specifically based on one or the other. Now, that is technicals. That's not fundamentals. Yes, it's based on events that are happening within the world, but the technical data repeats itself, right? Whether Republicans are in the lead, whether the Republicans are currently sitting, whether it's, so it's all these different things that lead themselves. So when I get a lot of people saying they don't care about the fundamentals, I often say, well, then you don't quite yet understand the technicals. Because if you understand the technicals, you start to then look into past events that repeat themselves. Now, some of the most famous traders in the world, whether we talk about Ray Dalio or Warren Buffett or any of these guys, if you learn their secrets and you understand what makes them tick and what things are they primarily looking for, and some of the best short traders, investment traders in the world will tell you the same thing, that what's happened before will happen again. Now, this is my question to you. What's happened before, was that technical or was that fundamental? That's the question. What's happened before, was that technical or fundamental? Or was it something fundamentally that happened, whether it comes to a recession, whether it comes to a depression, whether it comes to inflation? And is that then proven, tried and tested in the technicals, that is then comes down to a science that we can then repeat, forecast, backtest, etc.? And the answer is the latter. So in order to fully master technicals, you have to have an understanding of the fundamentals. Do we rely on fundamentals for trading? No. Is it important? Hell yes. Okay, so I can't see the comments right now. I really hope this is making sense and somebody out there is clicking. I can't see the comments, so I hope somebody out there this is making sense to somebody out there. All right, so in any event, let's proceed. Let's move forward. I just had to put that in as a little bit of a snippet. It's something we will discuss in greater detail in Premium Plus. Okay, so gold on a daily time frame. Now I want you to see here that on a daily time frame, the 50 moving average is kind of acting as a dynamic support. We can kind of see that, and I'm hoping you guys can see that right there. We have this level of support here. Now that spike will, a person will struggle to see through that spike just because that's what the data's done, right? So as soon as we get a spike, some of our moving averages, some of this data kind of gets a little bit corrupted, but we might see a rising channel like that. Now, the big question, right, for this to remain true, and it is true because we're getting arguably higher highs, even though we have a spike there, we're getting higher lows. The question is, at this level, are we going to see gold punch through? And this is obviously quite a serious technical level because of the fact that this 2060, 2063 level is our May or April high. Right, so as price builds into that level, we can see that we've punched through already on the 28th of December, and then we got, as you guys know, that stronger dollar that came out of nowhere, right? We had that weaker dollar leading up, and then we get that stronger dollar that came in out of nowhere. Now we are approaching that level now. So on the smaller time frames, this is where we're going to start to look at momentum. We're going to start to look at how is price, changing up here. Now the important thing to note here, importantly, is that bear cycle, right, that we had all the way from the 28th, that strong dollar data that came through, that drove the price of gold down, that came to an end, a technical end, right, on the 12th. On the 12th, it came to an end, right? So when we look at the 12th, that was on Friday last week. Friday last week, gold broke out, showing us that there could be some dollar weakness. Now, from a technical standpoint, just looking at this channel here that gold has given us as a sighting for that breakout, we're now obviously looking at, will gold make that next bull move? Will we start to see that next bit of bull volume into the price of gold? Now, if we zoom in a little bit closer and we start to look at the price action of it, I was really hoping that we would start to see, a bit of a continuation pattern here. I was really hoping to see a pennant formation, right, in that shape there, right? As you guys know, if you go into the academy, if you go into the learning process, I believe if you have Premium Plus in the classroom area, that would be price action and Fibonacci. That'll be part 6, where I break down all the pairs and all the price action formations, what to expect, how to draw them, how to interpret them, etc. But this would be generally classified as a pennant, which is a continuation formation, right? Which we should have seen start to break through to the top side at 1 a.m., 2 a.m. this morning, but yet we're getting a little bit of a pullback here, right? And this can be due to a couple reasons. It can be due to earnings season, it can be due to a little bit of uncertainty, and it could also be a trap, right? So as we're seeing this volume kick in, right, this morning at 4 a.m., right, we're starting to see a little bit of a turnaround here. However, right, please note, this is still a bull market formation. So what I'm going to be very, very carefully looking at is, do we see that continuation to the top side? Now, yesterday afternoon, right, there's a lot of people asking, or for a lot of people asking about the gold sell. The reason we sold gold yesterday afternoon was because of this formation, right? Because of the fact we had this long bull run, we had, needed to complete this market structure here, and we started to see those hits there and looked at, would this be a symmetrical triangle creating this pennant formation, right? So looking for a little bit of a scalp, 50 pips would have been ideal there. The stop loss entry, we moved our stop loss to 20.55 and obviously got taken out, closed that one, and we didn't expect a breakdown or continuation to the downside. So we're looking at how much volume is here. We're looking at how much strength is in this market. And the best way to catch this, right? Again, if you're in the free environment, the signal will be issued, this opportunity will be issued. But should we continue to see this momentum, right? So we obviously on a smaller time frame, we have some structure available to us, right? We have something to kind of potentially start to capitalize on, right? And maybe something of that nature. And what we would, start to look for is, do we get any sort of turnaround at this point here, right? Do we get any sort of bull momentum at the start of the London session this morning? That's going to be the key place to focus. And if we get that, are we able to rebuild past that 2054? So $2,054, $2,055 to an ounce of gold will be a clear bull breakout. And then if I zoom out a little bit, then we're going to have much higher goals, because then again, should we get that bull breakout, it means the sky's the limit. It means that we could go as far as, $2,100 to an ounce of gold, $2,100 for an ounce of gold, and that would be a 500 pip gold north trade. So that's what we're looking at, and that gives you a better perspective over the short-term scalping opportunities. And the short-term scalping opportunities, very simply put, are any sort of microstructure breakouts here, right? The day trade opportunities will be, how does price react in relation to this greater market structure here, as well as some previously known levels, right? That 2060 being the primary. And then the swing trade here would be, again, does price stay within channel and make for a new high there? And again, at that new high, that's around the place we would start to consider a short opportunity, shorting again down to the downside for about 800 pips. So there's a lot happening on gold, and you don't need to go very far. You don't need to start, looking at 30, 40, 50 charts. Just get serious about one chart. Just get serious about one pair. Fall in love with one pair. Go and do some reading. Look at the processes. Look at the background. Go to old shows. Go within our chats and look for gold analysis that we've done, or shows we've done specifically and primarily over gold, and look for some hints and techniques. Now, for those of you who are part of Premium Plus, right, I am trying as best I can. There's a lot of moving parts happening as we speak. I'm trying as best I can to move that mentorship and strategy trading on the 27th even closer, right? I get there's a lot of you who are eager to learn the strategy, to master the strategy, to print money, and that will definitely be a goal of mine. So I'm trying to see, I've got a few flights, I've got a few traveling plans that are happening this week, and if we can get everything to kind of align, I'm going to try and make it sooner. Now, if you're part of Premium Plus, I would love for you guys to be live, to ask questions. We're going to have guest traders to, give their testimonies, to give their thoughts, their tips and tricks over how they've been successful, but it will be pre-recorded. I mean, if you're a Premium Plus client, you will be able to access it within the learning environment. So you can come back, restudy, re-understand the strategy. Now that will come with templates. It's going to come with everything you need to copy and paste that strategy and start following rule for rule. Open here, close here, this type of risk management, do this when that happens, etc. So I'm super excited to potentially release that to you guys. Again, in the crypto space, there's a lot happening. I had a Bitcoin analysis I did want to speak about, and just really quickly, I'll maybe just touch on it. But super important to note is that we saw a little bit of a gap down in Bitcoin's price this morning, right? 1 a.m., we saw a gap down in price. Bitcoin's trying to build up. Now, there is still a lot of talk about the SEC and that Bitcoin spot ETF approval and how that will obviously affect the rest of the world, right? There's discussions around the taxation of this, etc. However, all we need to know, and all you need to know from a trading perspective, is just keep an eye on this price action structure, right? If Bitcoin breaks back above that 43,500 mark to a coin, right? $43,000, 500 to a coin, very well that it's going to bullishly continue. There's a lot of positive hype around crypto right now. There's a lot of positivity. There's a lot of bulls getting very, very seriously involved. Again, $40,000 was that key level. Let me just show you. I can't help but not show you, right? $40,000 was the key level that pretty much the whole world is speaking about, right? The viability of crypto and Bitcoin was sitting at that $40,000 level, right? Again, for a couple reasons, right? And we've gone through the history of how Bitcoin has moved, how these spikes have happened, etc. But what you need to know is that we've got this bull channel, markets broke out above that bull channel, and we're in this sector right here. And if we look at that $40,000 mark to a coin, that is a key level, not only for massive bull spikes, but it'll also be the defining factor, that 50 fib level, right? So we've already made that pullback. We're already in this last bull spike. We already made 88.2 Fibonacci retracements. That's done and dusted. And now the fact that we're going back above that 50 fib, we bounced off the 38.2 already, means that we're going to take off for that next level, that next season, right? Potentially even seeing Bitcoin get, as far as that $55,000 a coin, right? So we could see an additional 25% gains on crypto, Bitcoin at least, and that'll obviously have a big follow effect. Now, items to watch or news to watch that would definitely impact this would be the current filing that Ethereum has had with the SEC, also to be recognized as a spot ETF. There's just a lot happening in the crypto community, crypto world. We're going to be giving this a lot more focus in the future, as well as doing segregated or dedicated shows, pre-recorded shows on crypto, right? So if you don't understand how it works, what's the past, what's the future, we'll do that as dedicated shows to kind of break that down for you. But the team is hard at work looking at the markets, analyzing not only gold, not only Bitcoin, but obviously looking at indices, looking at FX. Now, again, if you're not a part of Premium Plus, we only send indice trades to Premium Plus. We sent out a German 30 trade yesterday. We absolutely smashed it. That is not part of the free area just because of how volatile indices are, right? So we don't want new first-time traders being exposed to an indice trade and making a mistake by not putting a stop loss, not following the risk and reward controls, and then having a bad experience saying, oh, I blew my account. The same thing can happen obviously with gold, with any other trade. If you don't have the right, if you don't stick to the rules, as I say, but we generally exclude indices and leave that for Premium Plus. So if you want to get access to that, Premium Plus is the only way to go. Now remember, we only issue trades in the free group up until 500 pips of profit. That's after all losses. So again, we're hoping to hit that before Wednesday this week, and then the rest of the trades will go into Premium Plus. So the team is working super hard. I will see you guys in Premium Plus in dollars for lunch, 3:15 this afternoon. We're going to look at some of that Canadian dollar. We're going to dive deep into Canadian dollar purely on the technical side of things. I'll brief you guys on some of the fundamentals, but then we'll look at what sort of inflation data do we get this afternoon at 3:30 on the Canadian that has some trading opportunities against everything else. So you guys know the drill. As always, your prayers will always be welcome. There's a lot of changes we are going through. Most of them, 99%, are extremely positive. But again, as always, it's impossible without God, and it's impossible without you guys' prayers and support. So we appreciate if you continue standing with us in prayer on all the amazing things that are happening for the community and for the future of what we're doing. And other than that, you know the drill. As always, much love. And until I see you next time, goodbye.